Welcome back to Shemsuniverse. So today, guys, we're going to discuss the moon and all of the astrological zodiac signs. So with the moon, guys, what this has to do with is a lot of emotive responses, our subconscious. It really has to do with what's the background noise that we don't really reflect on or don't really hear, but it's always there. And it's really the decision maker in all of what we do. So we've gone over the moon before. I'm just going to give you guys a quick recap on how it affects each sign in this video. So it won't be the longest video. After this one, when we get to Mercury, Venus, Saturn, Neptune, etc., these are all going to be quite long, just because there is extensive definitions on how they interact with each zodiac sign. But with the moon, it's the same way. However, we've already gone through it. So if you do want a more detailed video on your moon sign, please just go back in my history and you'll see some videos covering all of them. So let's begin. With Aries, when you have the moon in Aries, what happens is you have somebody who's very competitive. They have a very competitive edge to them. It's a bit of a way of, they see the world as sort of like a war zone. Their life may be in what you would call survival mode. A lot of near emergency situations will be surrounding them, just simply because they view everything in their life as urgent. They have a very, very definitive self-image of being quite important. So the things that happen in their life, they're going to view as very, very important as well. Whether that's true or not is subjective, but that's just how they view it. So when you're around these people, or if you are one of these people, understand that your emotive responses are very, very fired up by that Aries energy. So just kind of tone it down and sort of capitalize on your emotions and use them constructively, and don't let them get out of control, because that's just going to lead to destructive behavior. Moving on. The moon in Taurus is exalted in Taurus. So the moon here is very, very strong. What happens is we have people that are sort of, they're luxury seeking. They like to have a nice home, nice car. They like to really be in the best prestigious clothes and be within good networks of people that are quite powerful. They're very, very grounded people. However, they tend to overindulge in vanity. And I don't mean to say Taurus is a vain zodiac sign. It's not by any means. They're definitely very security based and they're stable in their heart and mind. However, when you have Taurus in the moon sign, whether or not your sun sign is, whether or not it's a materialistic sign, you're still going to have a lot of the effects because the moon falls within this zodiac sign, because it's your subconscious, it's your shadow side, it's your emotional self. It's the self that we don't really always reflect on or want to adhere to, but it's always there and kind of controlling us whether we know it or not. So when that sign is when the moon is in that sign, excuse me, what we have is somebody who might look at what they have as in like money and just rewards such as incentives from their job, their home, their car, their clothes. All these things are going to be very, very it's going to have bear a huge weight on how they view themselves as a person. And if they don't have the right sort of mindset to balance the immaterial and the material realm, they're going to fall into the result of a lot of vanity and incur bad karma in this lifetime. All right, so the whole goal here is just to not make sure that you don't just fall into the vain side. You're able to actually acquire the material goods, which is always good. That's good for survival, but also have that sense of family orientation and looking to friends and people as more than just pawns, but people that you can reflect with and actually have meaningful relationships with. All right, so that's the only downside, but if you can mitigate those effects, you'll be just fine. Moving on to Gemini. So when you have the moon in Gemini, what happens is you have a person that's naturally communicative, whether that's within their mind or if that's how they're talking to other people is up to them. A lot of the times you have two different types of moon Geminis. You'll have the type that has a very, very strong conscience, meaning that their conscious, it's always a lot of noise in there. There's always the emotional side and the thoughtful side, the logical, rational side arguing back and forth in their head, and that leads to them having anxiety and indecision. Then there's the other side that uses other people as soundboards. This is the type that's going to be very communicative with like their partner or their friends. They're going to want to start debates for no reason, arguments, play devil's advocate. It's just who they are, and they don't even know why they're really doing it. So if you interact with these people, just bear that in mind. If you are one of these people, try to improve your communication skills to be constructive and not destructive. What you want to do is fixate on important facts and obviously the rights and importance of other people, but not overindulge in research and analyze things to the point where you just have paralysis and you don't move on and move forward. Make sure that if you have the moon here, you definitely have a higher than normal IQ, Your learning capacity is enormous, and you can pretty much do an infinite amount of things when it comes to a career. So bear all those things in mind and just be slow. Slow down your mind, slow down that pace, and actually accept life the way it is. Keep charging forward and actually make yourself a very clear path and get that cluster out of your head. Moving on to the next sign, which is Cancer. When the moon is in Cancer, it feels very at home here. It's domicile. So what this means is that it feels like it can really just relax. And this is where a lot of clairvoyant people are, that people that have moon in Cancer are very, very clairvoyant. They're very smart in the sense of emotional reasoning and social interactions. And they can also be viewed as like psychic readers. They're very much able to read into different people, different situations. Some of them have dreams of literally seeing the future. Others can see past lives, their ancestors' memories. It's a very, very interesting place for the moon because the moon is so associated with the water and the subconscious, and Cantor's all about that pretty much. What we have is a sign and a planet that really agree on perspective. So this is going to make your subconscious mind very, very strong. The power behind this that a lot of people overlook is the fact that you guys can manifest things with your mind, not with your hands or your body, just with your mind alone. The way in which you can weaponize it is by actually practicing affirmations and repeating them over and over and over, and believing in them and putting your thought and emotions into them throughout the day. Try that for 30 days, and whatever you want to manifest will show itself in some sort of way. There's going to be an avenue to get there, or it's going to literally come right to you. All right? Moving on to the moon in Leo. The moon in Leo is an interesting one because it kind of makes you neglect your shadow self if you have a sign that's more introverted than the Leo, which is most of them. The Leo in the moon makes you want to become a performer. It makes you want to be noticed, viewed as courageous, that warrior, that princess, that it's that archetype of being kind of royalty in whatever social realm that you fall in. So when this happens, the problem is if our conscious brain doesn't believe we deserve all of these things, but our subconscious does, that leads to conflict between the two minds. When you have conflict between the two minds, you have somebody who lacks confidence, but deeper down the surface, they know that they do have potential, but they don't really quite know how to execute it. The moon kind of blocks. It's a polar opposite to the Leo, which is all about the sun. And it's really a polar opposite there. So you get the hot and the cold. You get a person that's sort of a dreamer and a visionary, but doesn't have the physical capacity to execute their grand ideas. If you have Leo here, my recommendation is to actually believe in your dreams, believe in those passions that you have, follow through with what you know is true, listen to your own conscious dialogue, and exercise its will. The only way you're going to get ahead in life is if you exercise your consciousness will. You actually take the time to listen to what your mind is saying and then exercise its will onto the world. In your life, it's going to be a lot like the Aries. It's a lot like war, except you guys need to view it more like that. Leo is bold. You are definitely a lion. Based deep down, your basal nature is predatory. It's ready to go. It's ready for war. If you start viewing yourself with the proper self-image and boost your self-esteem, you will then in turn manifest everything you want. And a lot of people with Moon and Leo do actually achieve fame, name, and notoriety. They get very rich, whether that's in theater or through athletics. So bear that in mind if you do have that there. Moving on to the next one, we have the Moon in Virgo. The Moon in Virgo just makes somebody very, very tedious, very articulate when it comes to money literacy, and when it also just comes to being an organization freak. So what this means is you guys are very, very able to just see chaos and provide order to it. And that's what you should do for an occupation if you have the moon here. You're somebody who, whether you can see somebody's emotional chaos and clean it up through psychotherapy, whether you can go somewhere and delegate things like an HR, human resources rep, or whether you can just look at a bunch of numbers and just fixate them and put them in the proper position like an accountant. All of these things will fall under your realm because you guys are naturally able to, for one, do math very good and mechanics, but you guys are able to really provide order out of chaos. Remember, anything, if you're a Virgo moon, is this: you provide order out of chaos. You guys are able to really change situations. If your life is a mess and this is your moon sign, you have the ability to actually transform your life to your own will, but you just have to look at it like, is my life in order right now, or is it in chaos? Then take step-by-step decisions on how you're going to provide order to each segment of your life. The more order that you provide is the more organized your life is going to be, and then you're going to be able to compartmentalize things and fix them. You're going to repair them for good and have a new path of your life that you can then go and have a journey on. The next one I want to cover is going to be Libra. When we have Libra as a moon sign, this is sort of somebody who wants justice and they want to pass judgment onto others. They want things to be fair. And they kind of come across as a bit needy when it comes to relationships, especially with it as a moon sign, because you feel sort of neglected, like your inner persona is never recognized, whether you're a man or a woman. You want somebody else to recognize you for who you are. And that can be your biggest detriment because you're always going to be needing somebody to fill a void that you need to fill within yourself. The key to doing that is literally to analyze who you are, analyze your strengths, analyze your weaknesses, capitalize on your strengths, and mitigate your weaknesses until they can turn into strengths as well. What you want to do is not become some sort of like machine or sociopath, but you need to actually analyze your life and bring it, like I said with the Virgo, to an organizational sort of portal where you can provide balance to each part of your life, whether that be through work and fun or eating junk and healthy diet. All of these things, you need balance. You can't just have one way and not the other. You need light with dark. It all comes together. We're in a binary universe. And the Libra is all about the balance of everything. So your whole lack of stability in your life is because you definitively need balance in everything that you do. The more you can actually consciously focus on that in order to achieve it in different situations, is the better your life is going to progress. Moving forward, we have Scorpio now. Moon in Scorpio is very powerful. People with Moon in Scorpio have a very, very grounded sort of persona. No matter what their sun sign is, no matter what their ascendant sign is, if Scorpio is here, it means it's strong, it means it's very powerful. You guys are information seekers, you guys are able to really see through people, see through different perspectives, and you guys can just perceive sort of like Cancers, you're psychic like Pisces, and you guys have sort of a predatory thing that just comes with Scorpio by itself. So this is a very, very scary place to have a moon sign, just because these people, if you're against them, they'll destroy you. And if they're with you, then you have a friend till death. These people are very like warlike. They like challenges. These people will not stop until they achieve what they want. And if you have your moon sign here, the problem is that you're probably trying to push back that aggressive side, that predatory side. A lot of especially females go through this where they feel like they're a bit too masculine with this as a moon sign. What I'd recommend is to actually fully exercise your abilities and reach your fullest potential. I don't really have to advise you guys on much. You guys already analyze your situations. You guys already research into things. My recommendation is just to put your thoughts into reality. Make it your universe, make it your reality, and bend it until it works. All right? Moving on to Sagittarius. When we have Moon in Sagittarius, this just has somebody, this is myself actually, we need freedom. We need to have that sort of freedom of finances, that freedom of health, of feeling just free physically, mentally, spiritually, economically. All of those things matter. And when you're able to actually achieve that degree of freedom, you're going to feel like you've achieved your birthright. You already feel like you deserve it as is. I know I do. But what you want to do here is essentially look past how you're seeing it. You need to understand that there's always restrictions in life, and that's how we appreciate freedom. Like I said in the other zodiac signs, we're in a binary universe. Good and bad, dark and light, the list goes on. So what you need to find here is that through your restrictions, through the things that you think are holding you in place, this is where you need to actually provide the most discipline, the most value, and you're going to find freedom within your restrictions. You need to find a way to find freedom within your restrictions in order to break the bondage of them, to lose the attachment and to become one with them, or to break through them completely as new habits. It's up to you to figure out how that applies to your life, but that is the key if you want to master Moon with Sagittarius. Moving on, what we have now is Capricorn. Moon in Capricorn is interesting. Moon and Saturn, the relationship is not the best. So what we have here is a very, very emotional planet alongside Capricorn. It's represented by Saturn, which is very logic-based. They're very just thought, judgment, analytics. They care about cut and dry. They're very black and white, and they don't care about blue and red. They don't care about any of that stuff. So when you have this here, what we have is a very, very hard, like logical person that may consciously have maybe a water sign or an air sign that makes them a little more fanatic, a little more out there when it comes to their desires and their dreams and their aspirations, but then they have this subconscious nagging voice in their head that's telling them they cannot do this or that. The main key concept for you guys is to break the bondage of your inner critic. Capricorn is going to play its role in your life as an inner critic to motivate you to do better. But most of us, when we have Moon in Capricorn, end up just listening to that inner critic and saying, yeah, you're right, I'm not good enough. Yeah, I shouldn't do that. Yeah, I shouldn't apply. And they end up not doing the stuff that they should be doing. You need to actually look at the inner critic as an opponent, and that opponent is yourself. And deep in your mind, you really believe truthfully that whatever is not in front of you, whatever is not in front of your eyes, is not reality. And you cannot visualize anything different than what your direct reality is. Understand the concept of your subconscious, that that's how it's going to be. That's the algorithm that you're on in this reality. Understand the algorithm and then decode it and then beat it. The way to do that is to listen to the inner critic, write down what the inner critic is saying, whether that's going to be through, if you're going to meditate, then write it down, or just write it down consciously. And then listen to those doubts, read them out loud to yourself, and promise yourself that you're going to defeat all of them. And you're going to defeat all of them within a definitive amount of time. Once you're able to do that, you're going to be able to actually completely reprogram your subconscious mind to then work for you and not against you. The next one I want to cover now is Aquarius. When we have Aquarius in the moon here, very, very powerful as well. These are the types of people that innovate random ideas, that have a really natural sixth sense. That's a very high vibration. And when Aquarius mixes with the moon, what we have is somebody who is able to get random ideas, seem like sort of sporadic out of nowhere. These are the people that will be artists, poets, inventors, innovators of any sort, because they're just able to like bring different realities into our current one. And they're able to do this just by simply dreaming at times, or just closing their eyes, or just hearing a voice in their head. What you want to do here is, a lot of people here, they actually, if they're not using their creative gifts good, they can actually get themselves in quite a bit of problems. There's people that have the moon in Aquarius, and they end up saying that they have schizophrenia, they're paranoid, they have personality disorders, because they're not able to actually translate their energy into their current reality by actually listening to these voices and then putting them into like the reality that we have now, objectifying that. Without the ability to do that, without the ability to actually understand our inner minds can destroy us inside out. So when you have Aquarius here, that statement is very, very true. What you have to do is actually look at your life like a work of art. Look at it as something that you can sort of draw into your palette. And once you're able to really look at your life in that way, of something that you're creating, you have that God's eye mentality, you then can start drawing energy from the universe and being that bridge to bring it forth. You're more so just a vessel for the universe when you have the moon in Aquarius, where the universe wants to work itself through you. So you don't need to be attached to your family, the groups of people that you're around, friends, enemies alike. It does not matter. What matters is that you're here as a universal vibration, and you're here to experience the world and to translate something new to this world. You have something to bring to our world this time, something to innovate, something that's going to be new, whether that be through technology, architecture, structures of any sort, or just a different ideology. You have it there, it's in your capability, it's in the bank that we call a brain, but it's up to you to withdraw, take it out, and then deposit it into this reality. Moving on to the last one, we have Pisces. Pisces in the moon sign is very powerful. So what we have is that, very like Cancer, natural clairvoyancy. We have people that are, their 6 and 7 chakras are opened. They're very, very much able to see through things. They have the 7 psychic abilities. They're very, very empathetic. And they could fall victim to just being too helpful or helpless in life. The Pisces here makes you lack self completely. Pisces is the last sign within the Zodiac tropical signs. So when you have that, the Pisces is all about lacking ego, lacking the idea of I, the idea of self. So when the subconscious is so drifted away from the idea of self, your subconscious is even more mysterious to you than the average human being, because you don't understand that you're literally just looking into the darkness that the universe uses to create more energy and more matter. That's what your subconscious literally is. And you are pretty much just looking in at a portal that has unlimited amounts of information. You can either draw information from the outer universe, or you can draw information from other people, their signals, their vibrations. You guys need to be the most careful of the environments that you fall in, because if they're too negative, they can affect you through health ailments, mental disorders, paranoia, like the list would go on. You guys are, to put it very simply, are very, very affected by your environment, especially if you don't know how to control your psychic abilities. The other thing is, if you guys are drawing energy from the universe, you need to make sure that you're either writing it down, you're doing some sort of art with it, or you're able to talk to somebody about it. Because if you hold all this energy in, at some point you're going to implode and it's going to come out in some sort of way. If I have a Pisces in moon person, my recommendation to you would be to find a career within the arts, find something that you can actually really be creative in, or at least get a job that you're going to have the freedom to do a hobby that's going to incorporate artistic expression. Without these things, you're going to have a life that's sort of like neglectful. You're just not going to feel like you're living to your fullest potential, and you're never going to get the idea of self. The self is an illusion, yes, but at the same time, it's an archetypal reality that we have. And without that ideology of self, you won't achieve anything. So you have to decide what your human self is going to do in this lifetime and then set out to get it. Alright, so that does conclude the moon sign video, guys. If you guys do have any questions whatsoever, just please let me know in the comments. Aside from that, guys, please like, subscribe, holla at me. That's it for today, guys. Peace.